And I'm really happy to welcome Birgit today. The third part is dealing with what is missing. You know, we started with why, how, and now the what. But before we come to this discussion, Birgit will give us a keynote, and she's a very special guest because Birgit Hochenegger-Stoirer is Vice Rector of the Medical University Graz, and normally these positions are held by university professors, especially in Austria. But Birgit has a very, very broad professional background. She worked as a CFO of several small and medium-sized companies, but also in venture capital, and she was doing consulting and is also a systemic coach. So she has a very broad experience, and normally you would not expect such persons at university. Birgit loves to work internationally. She gets her energy beside her professional activities, in her family, with friends, and in nature. And you know, the vertical health she is working in is characterized by an intense transformation. In healthcare, the digital development is offering a broad range of new and more effective tools, but the speed of transformation is very slow. The market is very fragmented, and spin-offs are facing high regulatory burdens. Universities are the basis of spin-off ecosystems, and the culture and mindset at universities is stamped by tradition and academic rigorosity. I'm myself president of a university board, so I can tell a little bit about this. In my experience, there's a big gap between the entrepreneurial and the academic mindset, and therefore to drive innovation ideas at universities is essential. Birgit, you would like to speak about how to innovate medical universities, why entrepreneurship matters. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Werner, for the very nice welcome, actually, in this introduction. I have to add something or to correct something a little bit, which is that highly educated people with a lot of experience are not to be found in those positions, which is not true. There is very, very many colleagues of mine who are highly trained, very experienced in that field. But anyway, thank you very much for the introduction. So also good afternoon from my side. I hope you had a good lunch break and are fit for this session. As Werner said already, how to make a medical university more innovative and why entrepreneurship matters. And as Werner also introduced me already, before I've joined the medical university in the year 2019, I was working more than 20 years in the private sector, predominantly managing highly innovative and partly high-tech companies. So I was used to work in an entrepreneurial environment in companies which have to discover and to use available potential and turn it ultimately into profit and value. And when I came to the university, I was, first of all, really deeply impressed, and I still am impressed, you know, by the enormous potential that this university and the universities in general have. The medical university has really a great infrastructure, high-end devices, and of course, great people. So passionate scientists, specialists in related fields, and also highly educated people within the entire administration. And the main part of Austrian universities are publicly funded. So they are ultimately at the service of the population, contributing graduates, postgraduates, and they share their scientific results and create deep knowledge in many scientific fields, and contributing to the societal welfare and the prosperity has even gained more attention in the last years. And this is known by the term third mission, and this was already teased during the last sessions. Well, now we tried over the last years at the Medical University in Graz to bring science and entrepreneurship, scientists and entrepreneurs and industry partners closer together, because we are sure that when people with such diverse background exchange ideas and start working together, really big radical innovations can emerge. And so we spent quite some time over the last years and effort to develop a favorable environment and a favorable environment for innovation further. And that what we did is we promoted also the idea of an ecosystem. And I think in the last sessions, there was already said quite a lot how ecosystems work or what makes them so particular. So that what you see here is the area of this ecosystem, and we call it an evolutionary and growing ecosystem named Medical Science City of Graz. And this Medical Science City consists of several partners actually working here. The LKH Universitätsklinikum Graz, and of course we have the entire Med campus with the medical university, with all the research facilities, the biobank, the K-Zentrum CiviMed, and we also have 2 buildings, innovation and translational research, where companies from outside, spin-offs, spin-ins, so companies who try to get closer to university research, and also startups can rent spaces, labs, and go also or be part of this collaboration. And that what makes an ecosystem here so particular is that, first of all, we promote cooperation, but ecosystems are characterized to be open, so we see what comes from abroad and try to integrate it, and they are dynamic. And one of the fundamentals is that such a system is capable of creating a higher value than any single actor could create by herself or by himself. So cooperation and collaboration is really extremely important. And when it comes to the field of medicine and life science, it is even more important and growingly important during the last years. When you have a piece of great science, however, it can be only converted or translated into great innovation when you work very interconnected with various parts. And in the center, again, we have the medical university of this transfer or translation. And we have basic research here at the site, and of course, great applied research, but also the field of translational research, which gets more important over the last years. And new technologies need more cross-disciplinary collaboration. When you think about data collection, combination, analysis, and especially the field of applied medical science needs a lot of biomedical knowledge to discover new fields and to really generate great science. And of course, we need partners with the industry, the public, funding partners, and startups. And the important thing is to know that spin-offs are one of those transfer vehicles with an enormous impact on societal value due to the fact that they pick up ideas and create out of them new products, new technologies, and innovation in general. And the enormous impact is quite impressive, actually. They have, due to the fact that they have really valuable spillovers. And recent calculations at a macroeconomic level show that €1 which is spent in public research funding triggers a GDP increase of about or between 3 to 7 euros. And academic spin-offs contribute, pushing this GDP growth rather to the area of 7 euros than to 3. Due to the fact that spin-offs are definitely closer to university research than other startups, what we heard before already in the morning sessions, scientific findings are commercialized, which would have remained unused in terms of social impacts if there were not spin-offs picking them up and transferring them into new products, etc. They have an enormous growth potential in terms of employees. I'm going to show a few examples later on, and they boost the entire regional growth. And that what we also see is they have higher R&D spending than average startups, and they contribute massively to the innovative ecosystem in terms of spillover effects they can generate. And spin-offs attract investors ready to exploit their results. And I would like to demonstrate that using some successful cases. And I'm going to share one case which is really impressive because you could see the entire journey of such a spin-off It is a spin-off called Vira Therapeutics, and it was spinned off actually from the Medical University of Innsbruck. And you can see there is a lot of research to be done. It's definitely 10 years or more before the researcher, which was Professor Dorothee van Laar, I think she got very famous also during the period of pandemic, had this great idea to start converting it and transferring it to a new product. And that's what you can see in the years between 2012 and 13. They started with one of these incubation processes. They won the first prize at the Adventure X. Afterwards, they started getting some pre-seed grant from ABS, founded the company successfully. And I think one step which is also very important in this field is they got a patent granted also very early stage. And afterwards, the journey started between 14 and 15. They attracted business angel financing, then seed financing from ABS and FFG, which are extremely important institutions to fund even early stage, but also late stage innovations, made a profitable Series A funding. And this is extremely important too. They got financed in a collab round by Boehringer Ingelheim, so also an Austrian company by their venture fund, and EMBL Ventures, and even their ABS co-financed again. And they used the money to start their lab spaces, increase employees, office spaces, and so on and so forth. And they made the Series B funding in 16 and 17. And Boehringer Ingelheim, and this is the impressive story, where you can see invests or committed to invest an enormous amount of money with more than 210 millions to develop further this great innovation. And that's what you can also see in 16 and 17. This spin-off was still close to the Medical University of Innsbruck. They funded the Christian Doppler Labor together to explore even further the scientific results they made. And, one perhaps pity, I don't know how the Medical University Innsbruck sees that case. This spin-off transferred the patent very early, and they didn't participate at the end in the long-term story and the profitable story. They could follow in the years 2018 and 2022 and ongoing, due to the fact that they didn't have a participation. And I think it was mentioned in the morning session at that time, some sort of phantom shares and stuff like that. I think wasn't that known in Austria. Well, that what we followed up at Graz is, and I would like to share with you this portfolio map, is that we have already quite a lot of spin-offs and spin-outs, but also spin-ins, how we call it. So companies that established or came from abroad to develop their products further with our scientists here. And we have quite a couple of those in the growth field. So they are now done with main parts or parts of their research and are up and running their businesses and asking or needing more money to explore them and to develop it further. But we also have some early starters now. And this is something where we see that, dealing with the matter and building such an ecosystem pays back, because now we have more companies or more scientists asking for support to get FFG fellowship grants started. And one of them was already successful in the field of precision medicine. CalcDX, they got already a fellowship, and Tilda, for instance, is one of those applying now for an FFG fellowship. And creating such a portfolio needs time, and I would like to share some insight what we did over the last couple of years and what we think is extremely important. That what I said at the beginning is already we have a great infrastructure here, which attracts a lot of insights, so good scientists, and I would like to enforce that what I said at the beginning, great technologies and great innovation needs always great scientists and great science. And, starting with that, we have a lot of great infrastructure. So we are lucky on that. That what we did, and what I think is also extremely important, is that you have a clear profile and a strong vision and a strong orientation. And that what we did was quite a huge process, actually, in the year 2020, together with Thomas Fundneider and Markus Peschel from the Living Corps. And we created a profile of the Medical University of Graz, where innovation is an integrated part, actually. So you see 3 streams, and one of them is the entire knowledge transfer stream, but going even beyond and showing the entire innovation stream. So innovation is a part of our profile. And then it's also very, very important to have the right formats and to communicate about them. And the formats is not just about, meeting each other and having, nice chats and networking sessions, but we always focused on having, of course, networking sessions, but giving the people also content. For instance, we created a session on inspiring innovation, where a lot of scientists participated, and where people started to understand a little bit more why it's so complicated to innovate, due to the fact how our brains work and how to overcome it again. We also created, some formats on cross-industry innovations. We did one cross-industry project, for instance, with Magna International, but we also tried to innovate on need-driven issues. So we invited patients to understand better their needs, and then based on that, innovation processes. And ultimately, of course, we also try to educate our people and to offer formats there. And one field which is extremely important within medicine and life science is, of course, to understand the regulatory requirements. So we even there started with a crash course, and we have an open crash course. So we invite not only our scientists, but also entrepreneurs, people from coming outside and from other universities. So even there, the spillover hopefully works. And last but not least, we think it's extremely important to have role models of great scientists who experienced what it means to be great innovators. And I think this is so important because these are peers in the field. So, sometimes people are afraid, sharing the great stories about innovation, about being also a successful entrepreneur, being afraid of losing the impact of being a great scientist. And having those role models, communication processes, they attract the attention, and they also tag their colleagues and others to listen to those great stories. So we get much more focus on that field by these peer people and role models. And of course, it needs a lot of visibility. And the picture you see now is one picture, actually. So we made very visible that we have a great ecosystem and a great campus field here. But I think regarding our formats, regarding the development process of an innovation project, is something where is quite a lot of potential that we have to make fruitful in the next years. So there is really a lot to elaborate to create much more visibility here in the campus and beyond. Yeah, what's next? I think there was already said quite a lot about that what is needed, actually, and I would like to highlight just a few things or enforce that what was already said in the morning session. One thing is actually the capital challenge, especially in the field of medicine and life science. You need a lot of cash in the early stage where the risk is extremely high, but also late stage. But the good story about it, and I would like to share that slide therefore, is that when there is a clear need And when there are good solutions, you get money for that, what you want to do. And this is demonstrated actually here between the years 2020 and 2021. There was an enormous lot of money invested in that field due to the COVID pandemic. And this is just a slide of a Deutsche Biotechnologie report from the year 2023, showing quite impressively how much money was defrozen during those 2 years. But again, what is very important is that we develop the entire sector further, because otherwise, big innovation have to go to ask for finance abroad. And at the end of the day, they end up being abroad. As you see here, with one of those examples from Max Planck Forschungsgesellschaft, or the other thing is from MGen, where Mega Übernahme von München Micromet was published with one sentence. Today, the company's headquarters are located in Rockville, USA. Not that it's always bad being in the US, but sometimes it would be even good to see some example being headquartered within Europe. And the last thing is, again, a reference I would like to make to this Deutsche Biotechnologie report, where it said, confidence in German biotechnology remains high in the post-pandemic area. However, the hoped for improvement in the framework conditions for Germany as an investment location has not materialized, I would say, yet. If you look about some articles like that regarding Austria, I didn't find many, being honest. Well, apart from the money game, it's also quite a lot of challenges spin-offs face, especially in the field of medicine and life science. And I would also like, again, to show just some parts of them. First of all, and that's good, medical universities have already a lot of cooperation with the industry due to the fact that they are parts in studies and so on and so forth. So that's the good story about it. But we have to have strong corporations being partners on the same level. The second thing, which is a challenge, a real challenge, is that there is long research and development periods those innovations face and those spin-offs face, and they have to find the right partners for financing and support. The third thing is that regulatory framework is very complicated, and the revenue architecture at the end of the day is very complicated. So it has to be made very clear early stage who is your customer at the end of the day and who pays your bills. Considerable financial requirement was said already. And all those requirements, which seems to be a challenge, are also a benefit. Especially for investors in that field, because there is quite significant and high market entry barriers. They can expect to have a secure product, especially when they have a strong patent. And industry is also known for high reputation and recognized for its anti-cyclical nature. So even this is a benefit in many cases for investors, I would say. However, there is still a lack in entrepreneurial culture and risk taken all over. So it's scientists sometimes reluctant in taking the risk to make a spin-off. And I would say there is also quite room for improvement within the deciding bodies within the universities itself. And within the bodies, I think we have to take a clear position. And my position here is that knowledge and IP of universities can be seen also as unique assets. So universities must start to treat and first of all to understand intellectual property as assets. And if assets should gain value, they have to be not only recognized, but also developed professionally. So there is, from my understanding, a really strong call for highly professional asset managers. And I don't want to have this word asset managers understood in the ordinary way, but there is a strong call for people being experienced in business development and business creation within the universities. And I would say there is also a need for consolidation in the landscape, of TTOs, incubators. There is a lot of interfaces between those organizations, and sometimes the roles and the coordination in the process is not really very clear. So I think even there is quite a lot of room for improvement and for more professionalism. And again, this was said already in the morning sessions many times, the framework has to be aligned between the universities, between other stakeholders, and the regulatory framework has to be reliable and substantial. So transparent, reliable again, and at arm's length. And I'm personally a strong supporter of the idea of having university spin-off vehicles, which allow also to take shares, real shares, virtual shares, in highly relevant spin-offs. And last but not least, universities have to build up know-how, strong commitment in their decision-making bodies. Otherwise, I think succeeding is very hard and needs a lot of effort, and it's an endless marathon you have to go. So the takeaways from my session is there is a need for innovation in Austria and Europe in general. There is great potential, and this can be revealed by entrepreneurship. And universities have to treat IP as an asset, so they have to care really professionally about it. To create ecosystems with an environmental, entrepreneurial mindset, they have to have a reliable governance within their own governance, and they need professional business developers. And of course, the environment has to support it, that fear gets mitigated by legal, strong framework and standards to be set. We need to attract private capital and venture capital by sometimes having less bureaucracy involved. And we need to give the opportunity to have co-investment initiatives. And, sometimes it's very important to get the start right. So to have good structures for spin-offs in order to get them set up in that way that they are fundable later on by private equity and venture capital financing investors. And all of that is already feelable a little bit what we did. It's not a great success right now or a great success story yet, but I think we feel already that the culture has changed. And Christina Kofler, who is working in our tech transfer team, said, we used to have to chase after people to get them to apply for an FFG spin-off fellowship. Now, after that journey, several teams actively approached us themselves and want to apply and then found a company. So you can contact us, you can contact our tech team, of course, and I'm open for questions if there are some.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Birgit, for this Tour de Horizon. I think it was very, very impressive, a lot of insights. And I would like to come with a question, because you mentioned several times the life science financial report. Biomedic tech is still an increasingly so considered high risk and slow in delivering by investors. How can we attract more growth investments earlier?
So this is the question you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I think, first of all, we have to get visible with that, what we do. I think this is something that I said before. We have, to have more visible science, great pieces of science, and we have to enable to invest in these pieces of science. So first of all, universities, of course, to enable this transfer, to work on that and to set the environment and to develop it further. And I think secondly, it has to be also clear that there is less bureaucracy and more reliability within the universities to make participations also happen. And I think we have great ideas, but I think we have to show the ideas. And as I said, great technology starts with great science. and we have to bring those fields really structurally together and further build and create this environment that this is possible. And I think we have to convince all the parties within the university, but also without the universities and within the ministries, that this is really an enormous growth potential that we have. And there is a lot of economic impact and well-being on the society.
Thank you, Birgit. Thank you so much for your speech and presentation, and also for the support you are offering always for the ecosystem. Thank you so much.